Hello, good morning, Jim. This is Renee. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it to our UAC meeting this morning. I have a conflict. We have a faculty meeting at the same time, and I will be presenting a couple of items to our faculty. One is the use of Zoom. The other is I will be presenting also findings that regarding the use of Grammarly, providing feedback to written work of students. And then the third item that I will be presenting will be on the results of our major field test that we conducted recently. So anyway, I'm just doing this recording for two purposes. One is to share with the committee our findings, and two, use this as an example for my Zoom presentation this morning. So let's get on with the question about the use of Grammarly. The question is, does it help students? So to answer this question, Joan and I, we teach a business strategy class that we require students to submit papers every week, research papers every week. So in this worksheet, you see a couple of columns. It says the first paper subjected to Grammarly. So this was the baseline numbers. And then subsequent papers on target market and then strategy, we looked at the scores as reported by Grammarly on these papers. So we compare the baseline numbers against the average of the two subsequent papers where, after the introduction of Grammarly. So let's take a look at this particular student who scored 80 on Grammarly, and then subsequent papers, the average was 91. So the question is this improvement in one student, generally observed among the 10 or 11 students? So here's the comparison. We run some statistical tests for the overall scores, baseline versus subsequent papers. So you'll note in this column here in green, that's the difference between the baseline and the subsequent papers. So since this column is computed as baseline minus subsequent paper, you see negative values here, which means that the subsequent paper scores are higher than the first papers. So you'll note also that all but one of the papers showed improvement in the overall scores. Now, this particular paper was already good to begin with, so they don't see as much improvement. We ran a pairwise test, and we note that the p-value is 0.0064, which means that the difference we're observing is statistically significant. Further, we can say that the average difference between the before and after, or after the introduction of Grammarly, the scores of the students rose anywhere between 4 and 24. So that's a pretty big, but the worst case is that their scores improved by 4 on average, or best case, 24 points. And then we looked at the number of errors per 100 words. See if there is a reduction in the number of errors per 100 words. So this column represents the number of errors for the baseline and for the subsequent papers. And then we have the difference. We note that we computed again the difference as A minus B, so you're seeing positive scores here, which means that the subsequent papers showed lower number of errors per 100 words. P-value for the pairwise test is 0.02, which is strong evidence in saying that there has been a reduction in the number of errors per 100 words. And the difference is somewhere between 0.06 and then up to 4 errors per 100 words. So I think this is an initial indication that yes, the use of Grammarly does help students not necessarily improve their writing overnight, but I think it tells us that with enough feedback or detailed feedback on student writing, that they will be more careful or probably proofread their work more, such that they produce a better quality than if there was no detailed feedback on their work. Okay, let me know. So I'm sorry. I was trying to look for the paper that's, let's share this. This is the report produced by Grammarly, and I blocked off the name of the student. So here's the score of the student, and then Grammarly will report the number of writing issues. Additionally, Grammarly will include the length of reading time as well as speaking time for the paper. So here are the detailed report made by Grammarly in terms of general categories for writing issues: engagement, correctness, clarity, delivery, and so on and so forth. All right, so I hope this helps.